Hi, everyone. This is Tracy Kawa from American SPCC and A Brighter Future Starts Here podcast series. Today, we are here with prolific author and school principal, Dr. Unseld Robinson, discussing listening to kids, helping children to build confidence and to find their voice. Hi, Dr. Robinson. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this
Oh,
platform to interact with children and families. I think I have some very important messages that can be shared with children and also families. So
I
thank you
think
for
you do
today.
too. I think you do too. I think you have some very, very important messages. And you are very accomplished. You're a school principal of 20 years. You're an educator of 27 years altogether. You're a prolific author. Tell us about, well, you first started writing, from what I understand, when you were a kid, right?
Yes, I started writing in first grade. And
Wow.
what's also interesting is that I'm still in contact with my first grade teacher, and we talked about the writing process. So I
Yes.
remember in first grade, we started journal writing, and this was an opportunity to really look at our feelings, our social emotional thoughts, just kind of just getting a deeper picture as to our experiences and placing those experiences on paper. So that was a wonderful experience, and I love to share with children and families about
Yes.
the actual process. Um, so I had a writing buddy, and my writing buddy was a goldfish. So I used to write to the goldfish when I was writing in my journal, and I was also able to practice my sight words to the goldfish. And this was like a very important goldfish because this was the goldfish that understood or at least listened at the time as to what I was writing and how I was trying to overcome my fears of reading aloud.
That is a precious story. Now, I don't know if the
Thank you.
goldfish had a choice, but that goldfish was a lucky goldfish for sure. So that sounds like it carries over today in a lot of your writing, where you're still talking about anxieties and fears and trying to allay those feelings in children. Tell us about your writing today.
So my writing, I have a total of 4 books, and I wanted to use these storylines to help children to address their fears and to turn those fears into opportunities for hope. And this was a an idea that I've always had to be able to have a positive impact on the lives of children and to try to make a difference in their lives, whether it be in school or whether it be at home or whether it be in their community. So that's been my charge of writing children's books. I remember about maybe 17 years ago, I had an opportunity of meeting um, the former John Lewis. So I took a group of kids from New York City down south, and we met John Lewis. And John Lewis was the civil rights veteran, and he shared the importance of giving children a voice and that children must be heard. So I remember having that conversation with John Lewis, and it was just a wonderful experience, and that was like my great awakening to connect better with children using my journal, using my writing buddy, and just kind of being an educator. So I wanted to ensure that I was able to take those experiences and to be able to share those experiences with children that are attending public school or charter school or even homeschool.
Wow, that
So
does sound like an amazing experience. And what an
it,
inspiration.
it was an inspiration. It was an amazing experience because we talked about diversity, and we on this civil rights trip, we had children from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, to talk about kindness, to talk about diversity, to talk about removing those fears, and to turning those fears into opportunities for hope. So we had a round table, And I remember we used to take about 100 kids each year down south on a 10-day expedition. And we had Hasidic children, we had black children, we had Asian children, we had West Indian children, we had Irish children, we had children from all walks of life. And something that the children talked about was, what is the meaning of kindness? What does it mean to be kind to each other? And how kindness can change the world? So that's been my plight of writing children's book, and that's been my inspiration.
How beautiful. And all of your books, Dr. Robinson, have this element of diversity to them.
Yes.
Can you tell us where that comes from?
So that element of diversity stems from taking children down south on an expedition, learning from civil rights veterans about the importance of kindness, courage, and diversity. So I wanted to make sure that children were able to see themselves in a story. Because when children see themselves as being part of the story, they'll feel more confident when they're in school or whether they're out of school to be able to use their voice. And I think that when children use their voice to be able to explain and express themselves, they are empowering themselves to be able to conquer the world.
When you say seeing themselves as part of the story, do you mean identifying someone who is like them in a story or putting themselves in the character's shoes? Can you elaborate?
So I would say all of the above. The children will see characters who have similar personalities to themselves. They'll see acts of kindness that children should want to push themselves toward. So there are so many different examples that children can see from reading the book and also looking at the characters to be able to really have a second thought as to how can I become a model student or citizen or a model child. So the picture books provide an illumination of what that looks like.
How incredible. That's just beautiful. Can you tell us about some of your books? What are the topics? What are the storylines?
So my first book is called The Bayside Bunch, Go See the Principal. And everyone has a story of being called to the principal's office. There's always anxieties that children have of being called to the principal's office and being nervous. So I
Mhm.
wanted to use the characters as a way of looking at what does it mean to be called to the principal's office? What does courage mean? What does kindness mean? And just because you're called to the principal's office, that does not mean that it's something bad. So I just wanted to remove the fear that children have or that many parents had or experienced in the past about being called to the principal's office. Being called to the principal's office could not be is probably not a bad thing. So that's what I wanted to do in that first book is to remove the fears of children and to look at getting to know the adults within a school setting because nowadays with the pandemic, children need to be reintroduced to the adults within a school setting
Mhm.
and that the adults, the principals, the teachers, the support staff, they are friends. They're friends that could really assist children in their growth and development.
That's interesting, especially when sometimes school is the safe place for a child, right?
Yes,
Would you say that that's when it's very important for a child to know and be familiar with the administration and feel comfortable going to the principal or someone in charge, somebody on the staff there, and share information when they need to?
right. It's important for children to use their voice and to make sure that they are articulating themselves with the adults in the building because that's important. That's going to address their concerns. That's going to help to remove those fears when speaking with the adults within a school setting.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, you do some really incredible work. Tell us about some of your other books.
So my second book is called The Bayside Bunch, Quarantine in Queens. So this was my second book, and I written the book during COVID when it first started. So I wanted to make sure that I use information from parents, teachers, administrators, and most importantly, children. So I conducted what's called a focus group. I was able to speak with parents and speak with adults, speak with children, just about their experiences. What are they experiencing being at home, being quarantined? And through this story, I wanted to give parents and children a clear picture as to what's going on in in the homes of some of the children, and that their experiences are no different from what America was experiencing during that time period of being quarantined. So I just wanted to take snippets of those experiences, looking at those relationships, looking at those family routines within a household. So I found that it was powerful, a powerful message to share with the families. So at least we were preparing for the new normal.
Mm,
So at the end of the book, there's a letter to the parents, and also there's some resources for parents, helping them to understand what they can do to help transition children during the pandemic. And one example is writing. So journal writing was one of my very important parts in this particular storyline, because now children are able to take what those social and emotional feelings are, or what they were experiencing, and to put it on paper. And by putting it on paper, this is a time for the family to come together, to have a conversation as to what they can do better and what kinds of assistance that's needed in order to help to move the family forward. So that was like one of my special
mm.
storylines, and I had a lot of fun doing it because it was significant, it was important, and it was a need for that particular time period.
Yeah, absolutely. Working with families and children and getting this microcosmic view that we know really does apply to a lot of families across America. So when you talk about this journaling, right? Children journaling, is that one of the ways that families bond with each other?
Yes, that's a great way for families to bond together. This is an opportunity where families can look at the writing of their children, because sometimes children do not speak or say what they're feeling. But when children feel uncomfortable about putting their feelings on paper, this is a great way that families could have conversations about what those feelings are, and to work it out as a family. And if the family is not able to work on it within a home, there are also outside resources that were provided at the end of the book for families to reach out for assistance.
Oh, how nice. And I understand that you also encourage parents to write with their children.
Yes, it's important for children and also for parents to write at the same time. So this could be like a great conversation piece that can be used at the dinner table, or at
Mm.
least after the dinner table, just to kind of talk about what were the high points and what were the low points, and how the family can come together to addressing those points of concerns in the middle.
You
So
know what I
that's,
love about you know
I'm
what I love
sorry.
about fact that the fact that the children get to see the parents also work through some of those low points.
Yes, because even as an adult, we still have challenges. We have high and low points. It's important for children to see that during this pandemic, during this crisis, that parents are having those kinds of anxieties that the children are having in terms of looking at the new normal. What does that mean? Parents are also thinking about what does a new normal mean for childcare for the children, schools. What does it mean to be at work or be out of work? So now
Yeah.
this is a very important area, a great area that families could begin to have a conversation
Oh,
about
this
meeting
work is
together.
incredible work that you do. Where do you think that mindfulness and meditation play in all this? What kind of part do those two play?
So mindfulness and meditation is a very important way of relaxation. It helps to ease the tension. It helps to bring out anxiety that children or parents or caregivers are having. That's something that I've mentioned in my third book, The Bayside Bunch, Breathing is Believing. And that's where I have family meditation. So whenever children are feeling that their backs are against the wall, parents are feeling that their backs against the wall, it's important to belly breathe and to breathe and believe that everything is going to be okay. That's what I began to talk about in my third book. And just to give you a quick snapshot, so the third book, The Bayside Bunch, Breathing is Believing, starts out with the principal. The principal is reaching out to the families in the community, and they're talking about a very important incident that impacted the community, where a community member was afraid and unable to breathe. So now the principal takes it upon himself in the school community to begin to teach families how to breathe together through meditation. And through meditation, this is the way that they're able to take out or remove some of those anxieties that they might be feeling within and to be able to blow it out. So this is like a mindfulness practice, a breathing exercise that the entire family can come together with.
Wow. I just had the realization that you took something that happened in the news that was a very negative situation and you turned it into uh, a way that families and children can have positive experiences with each other.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Families, parents, children, caregivers can come together to breathe and believe. And I also provided some examples where children are able to see through activists such as Susan B. Anthony, Dr. Martin Luther King, looking at other veterans who made change in the world, and they were confronted with similar circumstances, such as being confronted with challenges around the world. So they were able to breathe and believe, and they were able to work it out. So this is a message that I want children to be able to take home, is whenever you're feeling bad, whenever you're feeling that your backs are against the wall, just breathe and believe that everything is going to be okay. So that's what I like to push and share with children and families. Breathing and believing is the way to go.
And these fascinating books will make wonderful holiday gifts for the kids as well. So I urge our listeners to visit Amazon and look up Bayside Bunch. Just type in Bayside Bunch, and all of Dr. Unseld Robinson's books will come right up. I understand, Dr. Robinson, that you actually have a very long relationship with building this caring and this empathy and trust, dating back also to your doctoral dissertation. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct. So with my doctoral dissertation, which is from St. John's University, I was able to interview children, parents, school officials, caregivers, community members, and just really have conversations about what does it mean to have a caring relationship. What does it mean to develop trust? What does it mean to create a sense of empathy? And what does it mean to bond? So I was able to use those four concepts to really interview families, children, and adults, and to really take the words, the term, the phrases, the categories, and to be able to paint a picture as to what needs to be done. What are the steps that are needed in order to make change in our schools and community? So that was my focus of helping children and families to turn those fears around about environmental concerns involving their school or their community, where their backs are against the wall and that there's nothing they can do. So having caring teachers, having caring relationships, Building a sense of trust, building empathy, building bonding is a way that families, children, caregivers can change.
I love it. I love it. If you're going to leave our listeners with one last thought, other than going to Amazon and searching up the Bayside Bunch, if you're going to leave our listeners with one last thought, what would it be?
The last thought is creating a caring, trusting, being able to empathize, and also keeping a focus on kindness and diversity is the way to change the hearts and mindsets of our world. That's the only way that we will be able to change the world is if we make that first step, that initial step of being kind, holding the door for a stranger, saying thank you, just showing those kind acts will change the world.
Beautiful. It's all
Thank
about
you.
building trust and having respect and kindness, just being kind, right? Just even a smile can bridge a distance. It's all so true. We really appreciate having you on the show today. I want the viewer to once again take a look that they can visit Amazon, look up Bayside Bunch. Your books will make wonderful holiday gifts, teaching children about diversity and trust and empathy and understanding and supporting each other. So thank you again. God bless you, Dr. Unseld Robinson, for the work that you do.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to tell our listeners that if you know someone who is doing incredible things in your community, like Dr. Unseld Robinson is doing, please contact us at AmericanSPCC.org. Let us know. We want to interview wonderful people making great changes. So, again, visit our website at AmericanSPCC.org. And remember, a brighter future starts here.